It's a little bit high. Sorry about that. Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently finished Paulo Coelho's book, By the River Pierda. I sat down, is it Pierda? Pierda. By the River Pierda, I sat down and wept. And he quotes a psalm. I forget which psalm it is, but it's by the rivers of Babylon we all sat down, and there we remembered Zion, and we hung up our harps and wept, because they wanted us to sing a song, and we said, what shall we sing? We're strangers in a strange land. I'm paraphrasing, but he's quoted that. He quoted that in the Valkyries, and I love that psalm, even though it's very sad. It's just a very lacrimental psalm. But this is a really excellent book. It's not very long, and it's about a young woman named Pilar. And Pilar, she has a romance when she's just young, and she's just a girl when she first has that romance in her life. And later on, as an adult, she comes across the same man that she loved, and she's getting a second chance, and it's all about being surprised by life in and of itself, the experience thereof, and faith, and hope, promise, and forgiveness, as well as just the sacred journey. And one thing I really liked about this book is how Coelho talks about the feminine face of God, which I definitely believe in, and he speaks of this through Mary and, of course, the Immaculate Conception, and it's fascinating. And Greg Brayton talks about this quite a bit in his audiobooks, and I highly recommend, if you haven't listened to Greg, I highly recommend his CDs for you to listen to, because they will inspire you and challenge you, and enliven and enrich your life, just like Paulo has for me. And this book, it just it spurs me on and makes me feel like I know I'm on the right track, because the world is sometimes a difficult place. It can be, but I like to see the light in life and positive influences wherever I go. Even sometimes it might be a little bit challenging. There are days where it can be really challenging, but other than that, I think that life in and of itself is to be savored, to be relished, to be adored, and just full of gusto and zest and vigor and zeal. And Pilar, at first, she deals with a character called the Other, and the Other is fear, and the Other also encompasses many other attributes of a human being that would hinder or confine that human being from getting the whole experience out of existing, rather than, just letting that other control you. And surrender is a big part of that, and that's very difficult for us to do, because we as human beings, a lot of us, especially myself included, we like to be in control, and not being in control is very difficult and challenging. And knowing this is one of the other obstacles that we must navigate, or I would say circumnavigate. And we can do this, and it's perspective, and it's discipline, and every day we learn something new and how to navigate this sometimes kind of brambled road. But all in all, it's definitely worth the price that we pay, especially in knowing that there's a greater hand that guides us along our way when we mess up, which we will, because we're fallible creatures. And he mentions that, and his interview at the very end is really quite impressive, I think. He talks about the price of hate and the price of pardon, and I'm going to read a little bit of it. How can we be attentive to the opportunities that life gives us? If you only have 2 opportunities, learn how to turn them into 12. When you have 12, they will multiply automatically. That is why Jesus says, "He who has a lot will have a lot more given. He who has little will have that little taken from him." That's one of the harshest sentences in the Gospels, but I've noticed throughout my life that's absolutely true. So how can we identify the opportunities? Pay attention to every moment, because the opportunity, the magic moment, he talks about the magic moment a lot, is within our reach, although we always let it pass by when we feel guilty, and of course that's the other as well. Try not to waste your time blaming yourself. The universe will see to correcting you if you're not worthy of what you're doing. How is the universe going to correct me? It won't be through tragedies. These happen because they're part of life, and they should not be thought as punishments. The universe generally shows us that we're wrong when it takes away what is most important to us, our friends. Kenan Rifai was a man who helped many people find themselves and achieve a harmonious relation with life. Even so, some of those people proved to be ungrateful and never turned their head to say thanks. They turned to him only when their lives were in a state of utter confusion. Rifai helped them, again without mentioning the past. He was a man with many friends, and the ungrateful always ended up on their own. These are fine words, but I don't know if I'm capable of pardoning ingratitude so easily. It's very difficult. But there's a choice, and choice is a crux in this book. There's a choice. Then if you don't pardon, then you'll think about the pain they've caused you, and the pain will never go away. I'm not saying you have to like those who do you wrong. I've been going through this recently at work. I forgive, and Greg Braden, he speaks, if you forgive, then you cannot be angry. You cannot hate that person. It automatically just completely dissolves. I'm not telling you have to like that person. I'm not telling you to go back to that person's company. I'm not suggesting that you should start seeing that person as an angel or someone who acted without any hurtful intentions. All I am saying is that the energy of hate will take you nowhere. Amen. But the energy of pardon, which manifests itself through love, will manage to change your life in a positive sense. And I've seen this in multitudes where what I'm doing, and this is true. This is an actuality. I've been hurt many times. This is why you still bear within yourself the little boy who hid from his parents and cried, the little boy who was weakest in his class. You still bear the marks of the frail little boy who could never find a girlfriend and was never good at sports. You haven't managed to erase the scars of some injustices committed during your life. What good does it do you? None at all. It does absolutely nothing. It just leaves you with a constant desire to feel sorry for yourself for being the victim of those who are stronger, or else makes you want to dress up like an avenger, ready to inflict more wounds on those who hurt you. Don't you think you're wasting your time with all that? I think it's human. It is certainly human, but neither intelligent nor reasonable. Respect your time on earth, understand that God has always pardoned you, and learn to pardon, too. After this conversation with Jay, which took place just before I traveled to the United States to spend 40 days in the Mojave Desert, I began to understand the boy, the adolescent, and the hurt adult I once was. One morning, going from Death Valley in California to Tucson in Arizona, to Tucson in Arizona, my fault, I made a mental list of everyone I thought I had hated because they hurt me. I went along pardoning them one by one. 6 hours later in Tucson, my soul felt so light, and my life had changed much for the better. And it's all about letting go. And letting go is an essential, really. And I love that lesson that he has taught. And I learned so much from it, and it was so pertinent to what I was going to at work, because there are a couple people that I don't necessarily like, and I don't necessarily get along with very well, because I think that they're both very insecure, and I think that they're both very angry with the world, and they don't really know any other way to act. They just react to everything, and reacting in a very angry way does absolutely what he said. It does no good, and it just expends energy in a negative way and breaks you down, rather than you could build somebody up. And I know this is kind of off the beaten path, but there was an episode of Wander Over Yonder that was very similar to that. So I think it's called The Boy Wander. And in this, he deals with Dr. Screwball Jones. And Dr. Screwball Jones is a villain who forces people to be happy. And Wander says something that's very profound. He says, I don't force people to become happy. I give them the choice whether they wish to be or not. I don't make them. I don't kind of put people into a containment or a box, because everybody's different. I mean, we have the choice. Choice is the most important thing about being human beings, free will. And I like that. I just thought that's such a good message, and people don't realize how deep that really is, and that's why he's a hero rather than a villain, making people kind of ostracizing and then to doing something that they don't necessarily want to do, like Screwball did. But it was a really excellent episode, and I absolutely loved it, especially the banjo retort and accordion battle. That was sweet. But anyway, that's kind of off the beaten path, but it fits in within the context of what I was reading. And if you haven't read, each book has a companion, and it makes the books themselves even richer if you know that he is going over something that he's gone over before, and you realize, oh, yeah, he does that, but it's done in a very poetic way, I think, and just really quite remarkable and beautiful, and just so inspiring, and just giving a better look of humanity and just what we can become. And I believe this. I really, really do.